All right. So today we've got Javvad, Malik, and Vítor Domingos in our episode. Javvad, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
How are you enjoying BSides Lisbon?
It is fantastic. It's my first time in Lisbon. And to be honest, I did not expect the city to be so charming. It's got so much character to it. And like you've got the old and the new, and it's a wonderful place.
So during your talk, I actually got to interview you, and I mentioned to people that I believed it was important for you to come and talk to them today, not because of your typical technical talk, but actually because of the message you transmit, that it's important for them to know how to talk to the C-levels, how to management, how to transmit the information they're trying to. Can you give some hints, like how you got to this place, how you got to this type of talk? Because it's kind of your thing, right? You do your YouTube videos, you talk about this stuff, which is not technical, but yet helps a lot the technical people.
So I think when we look at security, and if you look at where some of our challenges are or where some of the failings are, it's not because we don't have the right technology. It's like everyone can say, oh, if you got hit by XYZ attack, you could have deployed this technology to fix it. Or if you'd only done this processes, or if you'd only followed this standard. So the technology isn't the issue. And we have a lot of really smart people in the industry, so it's not like we've got a lack of talent. So where are things breaking down? And I think historically, when we look at that, we haven't been very good at sharing that knowledge with the wider people who really need that knowledge in order to be able to make the right decisions and to implement it. So at the moment, when you look at C-levels or people who are in a position to make decisions, they're not really properly incentivized, and they don't really have the understanding. So it's like I'll just accept the risk. That's the joke.
Yeah. So you're doing a bit of PR, but just for security. Is that it?
Yeah, kind of. You could say that it's PR. And I think as security becomes more mainstream, and it is mainstream, all of us are in this unique position where we really understand the issues very, very deeply and technically. Now, the challenge is, like, if you're sitting around a family dinner, can you explain those issues when your family's saying, hey, I saw this on the news, what is this ransomware? Why are my hospitals...
Why should I be worried about it?
Why should I be worried about it? And can we condense that into something that's really simple for them to understand, rather than going, oh, well, it's like, it encrypts the files, and then, like, there's a Bitcoin exchange, and then there's all this, and then, like, people don't remember that. They just need to know, why is it important to them? What should they do?
All right. WannaCry actually, for me, was one of those examples, because at least, in my lifetime, and I've been doing security now for about 10 years, it was the first time my mom actually called me and was like, okay, this happened at my work. Can you explain to me what this is? So WannaCry, in a way, and I've had this discussion with other people, I said WannaCry, in a very weird way, was actually a positive for security. Like, it enabled us to do a lot of other things that we weren't able to before, because it had such a direct impact. Like NHS in the UK, it was crazy, right?
Yeah, it was,
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you had to give, say, 3 or 4 recommendations to security people, what would those be? Because you gave them in your talk. You gave like 5 or 6 of them, right?
Yeah. There was those were like some tips to tell a story better. I think if we want to break it down, distill it into a few key points, I'd say start with putting the audience first. I think that's a key thing. Like, why is something important to them? Just because something's important to yourself, it doesn't mean it's important to someone else. So if you're speaking to a development community, why should they sanitize their inputs, or why should they make sure that the web app is secure in this way? If you're not conveying that to them properly, then they have no incentive. They've got no reason to do it. So always put your audience first. Make it about them. Secondly, I think, sort of like following on for that, like we need to break out of like the kind of like the echo chamber, so to speak, and we need to take this message to people outside of security, because they're the ones making the changes. They're the ones like with the influence, and ultimately, if you're an entrepreneur and you're setting up a business and it's rolling, it's an expense. You don't want the hassle. Why? And so it's like, how do we explain to them, like, this is important for you? It's like, yeah, I know, brakes slow down the car. I want to drive the car fast. But, you need them for a reason.
And that's one of the interesting things, because we at the same moment we have the Web Summit just around the corner over here. And I see a lot of startups there, right? So everyone is pitching their new product, their new idea, the new stuff that they're just doing. But the thing is, my understanding is that they don't care about security because they just want to push things forward and to the and to get more, either more revenue or more users or more stuff. But for them, security, well, it's something that we want to take care afterwards, right? About data privacy and our users and is the endpoint secured? Do we have the proper certificates? That's the kind of stuff. So the message is, as I understand, is put security first and then try to get.
Yeah. So it's not so much. So I think the change in mindset we need is rather than us saying we need to push security first, we need to convince them that it's a good idea for them to put security first for their own sake. And I think that's kind of like the mind shift change. We can't force it on people. We've been trying to do that for a long time with very limited success. But if we can convince them that this is the right idea, and for that we need to just be imaginative, we need to use language that they understand, we need to position it in a way that they see the benefit for it, then that's how they're going to use it. I gave this example in my talk today. It's a quite a known story about girls in a school. They put lipstick on and they would kiss the mirror to leave an imprint on there because they just thought it was cute. And the principal, the way he got them to change their behaviour, he said, "This is really difficult for me to clean." And he got the caretaker to get his mop, stick it in the toilet, and then clean the mirror. And then after that, they were like, he goes like, "It's just difficult for me, but it's your choice. I'm not going to force anything on you. It's your choice." And I think if we can do that, a bit more of that in security, say, look, this is the good and the bad that can happen. It's your choice. You're clever. You're a businessman. Make the right decision. And I think that's what will be more powerful.
Okay. Because for security, we're in a really complicated position because it's very, very hard to show a direct return on investment unless you don't get hacked for X amount of time. And at the same time, whether we like it or not, it does delay shipping a new feature. You need a code review, you need a pen test, you're still talking a day or two, maybe if it's an optimal team. So it's actually a really hard position. How do you see that, it's a good selling point for that, to kind of fight that?
So again, I think what it is at the moment with the current model, people see it as another hurdle they need to cross. And you get the pen test done late in the stage, and then it's like, oh, we can't fix it because we have to recode and whatever. So we need to go further upstream or downstream, whichever way the stream's going. But you need to get people right at the beginning to say, okay, we need to just bear in mind security as a requirement at that stage. And then it becomes a lot easier because then when you do the pen test further down, you're only going to pick up some minor things, hopefully, or just like, and so it streamlines the process. So the idea is like convincing others that it's an important thing rather than we need buy-in at this late stage.
Of course. I was actually told about 2 days ago, I was having lunch with Alvar Flake, and he was actually telling me something pretty interesting that kind of goes against this topic, which is security has a problem, which is no one gets rewarded for cutting things down. But you always get rewarded for adding a new feature. So no one is going to get rewarded for taking code out, even if it's bad code. But if you launch a new feature, you'll get promoted and all of that. And again, it's another problem we have in security, of course.
Yeah.
Interesting. Really, I just want to do short episodes, so those are my questions for today, man. Cool. I really just want to do a couple of short episodes.
So, well, can I continue then? So, because one of the you did the keynote. Your main theme was how storytelling made me a better InfoSec professional.
Yeah.
So, I'm an InfoSec professional. Well, assume that. I'm just a curious guy. But how should I tell my story better than for people to take me seriously as an InfoSec professional?
So some of it comes down to the audience you're speaking to, because there's no one style that will work in all environments and appeal to all people. But I think it becomes very easy because if you're doing, say, the same job regularly and you come across the same issues, it's very easy. It's just human nature to fall into the trap of just explaining things in the same way. And I'm guilty of this as well. You just go to previous reports, you copy and paste the same errors and what have you. So, I mean, and that's fine for filler, but the main concept is like, how do you make it something that's impactful and interesting for that person? How do you make it relatable to them? So someone that's in healthcare will have a different driver or motivation than someone who's in finance, very different from someone who's a small business selling tires. So it's really all about understanding the business side of things. That's what a lot of it comes down to. And one thing I stole from my friend Tom Langford is sometimes in the company, ask them how many of you security professionals actually listen to the shareholders' call. Do you understand what the business has committed to the shareholders? Do you know what the drivers are? If you don't, then you're probably going to be telling a very different story to what they want. So if the business have committed, say we're going to complete an acquisition and integration of this company in 12 months. If that's what they've committed, they're not going to change that. Yeah. So then everything that you're doing needs to demonstrate how you're supporting that and not trying to derail that. Because as soon as you say, oh, this can't go live, they're going to I don't care. We've committed to the shareholders. Yeah. So I think it's like understanding the motivations of other people is probably the key aspect there in crafting your story.
All right. Well, I work in communication in the past. So for me, to do a storytelling will be about the so what question, right?
Yeah.
So we have a bug, yeah, so what? We're going to have a security breach, yeah, but so what? What's going to be the impact of it? And I do believe that if they're going to listen to the shareholder financial call, then they're going to have a lot of answers about those so whats, because they need to commit to those things. All right, excellent. Thank you very much.
Cool, thanks a lot. Thanks. Cheers.
Thanks, cheers. Good.